Hey there, everybody. This is a little story today that I have for you about elders and the privileges and the special little privileges that they enjoy, where for some reason, some of the rules that apply to other people don't apply to them. And I don't know if that's always a good thing. So, at meetings, sometimes it's so boring. Really, not sometimes. It's mostly really boring. I feel like we grew up Bible in hand and used to learn a lot more. But in the last few years, it seems like the emphasis was on preaching, and not really learning Bible nuggets anymore. And I see it in some of the YouTube videos where people have called like witnesses to kind of debate with them, and to see that and to hear a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses know like the deeper knowledge anymore. Everyone's redirected to the website. You're not really learning those deep, thoughtful nuggets anymore. I always enjoyed that. So when that stopped being the case and it got so boring, I would notice the elders who would always get to kind of mess around during the meeting. Have you noticed that? They don't really sit down and pay attention. They're either giving a talk or they're in the back or at the book counter, enjoying that elder life, not having to sit down for 2 hours, but running around. And I thought, man, how come they don't have to pay attention? But they're so quick to tell you, be quiet, sit down. So that's a little something I noticed. I'm like, well, I don't really see a lot of these elders sitting down. They're always busy being important. So this story is about an elder that we were friends with. We were friends with the whole family. And they had several daughters. And the husband and the wife, we'll call them Micah and Monica, they were in love. I mean, they were like the couple that you strive to be one day. I thought they were so cute with their daughters. Always did everything together. He would dance with her at weddings. They were just really cute together. And so you could just always see them have like a really nice family life. And I think even when their daughters were teenagers, they all really got along well and they would do things together. They were outdoorsy and funny. And there was a little girl in the congregation who we will call Bella. And Bella was a sweet, beautiful girl, and her household was not ideal. So growing up together in the same congregation, you're very, very close-knit with people. You also see what's happening in their family life. And Bella had a very nice, quiet father who had remarried because I think the mom had died. And the stepmom was absolutely horrible with Bella. And so growing up, Bella would be over at Micah and Monica's house. Plus, she was like best friends with all of their girls. So she was over all the time already since she was little. She was, I think, a little bit younger than the youngest daughter, but they were all friends. So a bunch of kids, bunch of girls, and then, Bella fit right in the mix. And as she grew up and became a teenager, things kept getting worse and worse at home, even though they were Jehovah's Witnesses. So that's kind of like a weird one there, right? Like not displaying Christian qualities toward your stepdaughter. But Micah and Monica's family felt for Bella and decided that it would be good if Bella would move in with them. But Bella was like at the height of, blooming into a beautiful girl, into a beautiful woman. She was like 16, 17 at this point. And the dad honestly was like, he almost looked like a Santa Claus figure with not white hair and no beard, but just he was a jolly guy, but he was like this older looking middle-aged guy, you know, so nobody really thought anything of it, except we were like, oh, I don't know if this is a good idea, just because we had seen so much by moving around, and she wasn't a child anymore. And even though the family had known her since she was little, it is still different when it is not your own kid, and when somebody is blossoming into a beautiful woman. It's tricky because you don't want to put bad motives, you don't want to put bad motives on people's hearts. But I think it's just kind of like a reality that maybe it would be better to live with somebody who's like a single sister or something. And I think she saw Micah as like a father figure, but she kind of had like maybe some daddy issues. She was like hanging on him all the time, and she wasn't a kid anymore. She looked like a woman at this point, and we did kind of worry about it, just because I think it just gives you vibes. That's what it is. You're feeling vibes. And maybe that's just an intuition thing, and there's no reason that you have to feel a certain way, but we just got vibes. And we're like, I don't know if this is a good idea. But everybody else was like, oh, no, Micah and Monica, they're strong. Like, they're strong, married. She's been pioneering for years. He's an elder. This girl's younger than their youngest daughter. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. And suddenly, things started to get weird at home, because Bella was very attached to the elder dad, Micah. And she started to become like kind of very rude to the mom, to Monica. And Monica would treat her like one of her kids. And she said, you have a chore, you need to do this. And Bella would say, I don't want to do it. And the dad was on Bella's side, so that's creating a rift right there, because obviously your husband should kind of like back you up here. And so he started to be on Bella's side and protect Bella, and it was causing a lot of friction in the house, at which point she probably should have gone like right then. And then he started to lock his phone and put a code on it. And here's where the whole elder thing comes into play. I don't know if you ever thought about this, but how easy is it for an elder to cheat? Because when he says, I'm going to a judicial committee, he's not allowed to tell his wife, I'm going on, because they're not really supposed to say who the judicial committee is with or who the shepherding call is with. So there's so much room for secrecy and leaving the wife in the dark, which has so much to do with misogyny and seeing the woman beneath you because you're this elder guy and you get to do all this stuff, and she better be kept, and we have big important meetings and she's being left in the dark. And that is exactly what started happening, because she would say, I don't understand, why is your phone locked suddenly? And he's like, oh, I have very important elder stuff on there. Red flag. And then he would say he would go on service with Bella. Now they're one household, right? But still, it's kind of like two single people. I mean, a single woman with a married man. And they would just go into this little breakfast place in a nook. And then people from the congregation saw them together eating breakfast and being all cozy, not out in service. And he would say, oh, she had a very, very deep problem. And I had to counsel her and give her guidance. And just the whole situation was so shady. And it just kept getting worse and worse. And Micah and Monica's marriage started deteriorating. It, I'm sure, affected the girls. And one day, he tells his wife, oh, I took a job in some other state, like far, hundreds of miles away. And she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, but you can't visit me. And you can't, the girls, you should just never visit me there. So he didn't really break up with his wife. He didn't tell anybody what was up, but he was gone. And Bella was gone too. It was just so strange. And all this stuff happened under the umbrella of him being an elder and telling his wife to back off because she's basically interfering in elder business. And how did that suck for her? She went from like this happily married mother who wanted to help her girl's friend out to just, single. She never met anybody. There's not really that many brothers that you can meet, especially when you're older and you have kids and stuff. So life just got so much harder for her. And I'm sure she thought like Jehovah was blessing her. She had this elder husband. They were all pioneering together. And then they're helping out this young lady, and bam, just destructive. And how shady it was to use this elder excuse to cover up for him. Because come on, let's call it. He was having an affair with her, and he was all his little visits and calls, he could just hide them so well, saying, oh, important elder visit. What really plays a huge role in this is how Jehovah's Witnesses are groomed with words like obey and be submissive to those taking the lead. And it always bothered my family how it seems like they're talking down to us like we're 5-year-olds, because adults, to use those words, obey and be obedient and listen, obey, it's so offending. Like, you have grown people who have been like Jehovah's Witnesses their whole life, 50, 60, 70 years, and they have to obey and be submissive. It's like an insult. And for this elder, he knows that his J-Dub wife can't really call him out when she's starting to see red flags, because here he's also an elder in a high-ranking position. He's also her head. And so she knows that she has to be obedient and submissive as a wife and as, a publisher in the congregation. So this is just a really, really difficult situation to navigate through for the wife and the kids, because it is their dad. He is an elder. It's just a sucky situation. And it gives such a pass to the elders who want to do wrong and be shady and, can fly under the radar with these titles. And when they compare the elders and being obedient to the elders to like Moses, and the disobedience to Korah, I think that picture drama that we used to watch about Moses and Korah, and they had the drama on the tapes how when Korah didn't listen to God's appointed prophet Moses, that Korah had to die. And we would hear these picture dramas and see these picture dramas, and it's very powerful because you associate these picture dramas in your head with the act of not listening to Jehovah and dying. I mean, I really struggled with that when I was waking up as well, because I had to kind of get over myself thinking, is this what's going to happen to me when I'm not obedient? Like, when I leave the truth, am I like Korah? And I had to really, really work through to realize, no, that was part of brainwashing, these picture dramas that are stuck in your head when the ground opens and and the abyss swallows everyone. That was just a scare method that cults use, a fear tactic. And it's really frightening. And another thing too is like, how many watchtowers or, studied things that we had to accept counsel and be counseled, and always, even if the counsel, if you feel like it was unjust, you can just, sit back and pick something positive out of that counsel. And I always thought it was so unfair, because when you have like a jerk elder who just wants to counsel everyone, no one's going to call him out. Like, who counsels the elders? And, you just get to sit back as a publisher and take all this beating for no reason. Like, when you're just trying to do what's right and be a good person, and you're getting counseled over and over for nonsense. And I actually always thought, like, well, so are the elders like above the law? Is nobody really going to counsel them? But one of the brothers in our hall, he was kind of like a big jolly goofball. And he told us, he's like, no, when the circuit overseer comes, that's when the elders get counseled. So he's like, and that's why Brother Richardson himself, not his real name, but he would talk about himself in the third person. It was hilarious. He's like, and that is why I fly under the radar when the circuit overseer comes, because he didn't want to get counseled. He's like, the CO comes and Brother Richardson hides in the back. It was so funny. Well, I'll leave you guys with this. This is the end of this story. And who knows what would have happened. It was sad to see. They were always a really happy family. And, things happen, Jehovah's Witness or not Jehovah's Witness. That's really not the point. The point really is that him, under the guise of being an elder, had such a nice little alibi on cover. And I feel like toward the wife, it was not fair, because it just made everything so much harder and prolonged it and everything. What ended up happening with the young sister and the elder when they ran away and eventually got caught, and they stayed together for a little while, and they were a couple, but that didn't last. I mean, how old was she? Like, by the time they broke up, maybe she was 21. She was still a young girl, and he was an old man, I mean, probably in his 50s. How is that supposed to last? And it didn't. I know that he got disfellowshipped. I don't know what happened to her at all. I don't know if he ever worked through that it's not the truth. Last I know is that he was just really unhappy. A lot of people leave, don't come back, but don't work through that this is actually not the true religion, that it's not the truth. And I think that is very unhealthy, because you still carry so much guilt within you that you're doing wrong. It's so important to work through this. And I wish for him and for her and for everyone involved that they find, find out about the truth, and for them all to find some kind of joy after leaving. I mean, things happen, and everybody deserves to just be free of this cult, of the chains of this cult. So that's it for today. I have another episode prepared for tomorrow, so hold on tight. Bye.